Alright guys, welcome back! I'm Rifkin and I'm bringing you the Acer Team Story Cup here on Base Trade TV. Big shout out goes to, of course, Take, the guy who's organizing all this, also casting, I believe, but also allowing me to cast this for you. But without further ado, let's get into this. Spawning, well actually before we spawn anything, look at the top right guys, you see this? This is, of course, the scoreboard. And it's a best-of-9 series, first team to 5 wins. We've got a lot of ZVZs happening, but Impact seems unstoppable. And speaking of Impact, making an impact, it is the Blue Zerg player from Axiom, their newest pickup. It is the Blue Zerg Impact. Impact. Sorry, I just wasn't sure if I said that enough. His opponent, though, in the upper right, best known for being unstoppable, perhaps may turn this around for Quantic Gaming. We'll have to see. It is, of course, the Red Zerg, Hyun. Now, the big question on my mind is, like, let's say Impact is, in fact, unstoppable. Let's say he even manages to knock out Hyun here. First off, how much praise does he get from his team? But secondly, who does Quantic send out in the ace match? For those who are unaware with the series, when you're on match point, when you're on your last life, your last limb, you can resurrect one player that's already played, or you can continue playing players that haven't played. And as mentioned earlier, Damaga is the Joker, or Jamoker. I can't English this morning. I can't English at 6 a.m. in the morning. But he's the Joker for Quantic Gaming. He may not be on Quantic Gaming, but he's actually allowed to play for them in the Acer Team Story Cup as per their rules. So I don't know who they send out next. Impact has just got some really good ZVZ. We've seen it already. Hyun, though, is, of course, DreamHack champion. One of the better Koreans and one of the longest standing people in the StarCraft 2 scene. So this is going to be a different quality of play than Impact has experienced thus far. And of course, just the fun story, if you guys missed it earlier today, Impact is of course playing on a barcode, and admins asked him to change off of the barcode account he was on, so he relogged onto another barcode account. Hashtag Korean server problems, I guess, but natural base is coming down, I think. Same time. Sorry, I'm too busy gushing about Hyun. Yeah, that looks like it was about the same time. Pull time is, of course, very similar. Impact's slightly delayed because he went for the gas first. But even then, by the time he gets across the field and Star Station, should not be that big of an ordeal. Just trying to fathom what could possibly happen in this game. I mean, we've seen that both players have a lot of skill. Both players have a lot of microwave. And I've seen Hyun today, but we've seen him in the past. His results speak for him. Impact, however, someone who is newer to the scene, I think newer to the North American scene, the audience as well, especially, or not just the North American audience, I should say, but the English-speaking audience, is perhaps catching everyone off guard today. And with this early Baneling Nest, this is actually kind of cheeky. Putting it in the back of the base like this, typically you'll see players put Baneling Nest either out here or in the main. You'll usually see them put in the main for like best of series, in best of ones, which is what this technically is. Often players will put it on the front lines in order to defend, put a little nook for the queens to hide behind, but first blood. Despite the fact that the queens were on the ramp going to try to block this out, Hyun should be able to see this. He will see the Baneling Nest coming down. Now, big question is, does he continue to go full offensive, or does he go down for some crazy defense? Does he get a full wall off with some spine crawlers to boot? Does he go for 4 queens, 5 queens even, and an additional spine crawler? I mean, there's lots of options you can do now that you've scouted this early. Alternatively, Impact doesn't have to dedicate to this, but it looks like he will. 12 lings, 14 lings. Going to cut workers at this point. Going to just get a lot of Zerglings across the map. Try and get them on Hyun's side of the field. 3 queens and 1 spine crawler will initially be enough to deal with low amounts of banelings. If he pulls another queen from the main, 4 queens and a spine crawler. What am I getting? Australian? I'm sorry guys, I don't know why I can't speak this morning, but anyways, with 4 queens in the spine crawler, he'll have enough to certainly focus fire down banelings. It will be a non-issue. If he gets a full wall off, banelings are going to have to be used to take down the evolution chambers, and if that's the case, that's a big waste of banelings, but flooding in with just lings for now, initially Hyun will hold this off quite nicely. There's just no way for him to really break past this. Lings alone, they can try and focus the evolution chamber. There's actually quite a big surround area that they can get off on it, but even doing so, we'll lose pretty much every ling in the process. Again, this is 3 queens and a spine crawler. Roach weren't coming out for Hyun, so he'll have roaches as well for the follow-up. I don't think Impact's going to dedicate to this anymore. I think he might keep lings on this side of the field. He'll try and keep some map presence on, in his favor, but I don't think we're going to see banelings come in. I don't think we're going to see a bust, because if he were to do this, yeah, it would just be so bad, so devastating. And I should have actually looked at the production tab, because it would have told me what I was saying is correct. It is in fact a layer coming out, so going to advance forward through his tech in that regard. For the meantime, he picked up a creep tumor actually, so this will kind of shut Hyun's spread out for now. But ZVZ creep spread is nice, but not exactly a necessity like it is say ZVT. Ooh, roaches versus spire attack. Interesting. So the advantage of roaches in this scenario, this particular regard, if you will, is they hit before Hydros Mutos are really available on the map, before the Mutos are flocking, before the Mutos are just overwhelming you. And it can hurt. If you do enough damage, eventually the Mutos will come out, and eventually the Mutalisks will clean up your roaches. However, you can certainly get damage done before that. Hyun, however, is taking a third, and that wall is a little exposed. Has to be careful, backs up. But I don't think he's got anything to scout this. Yeah, he's not going to see that for quite some time, and might be caught off guard. Now, going for roaches means you'll be able to go for Hydralisks, which means the Mulis will not be so scary eventually. But a big part of this is getting caught off guard. Now, what we actually see Impact doing is putting out 3 spine crawlers in anticipation of the roaches. If you go for 5 spine crawlers, you can actually hold pretty much any number of roaches up to about, I think, 15 or so pretty easily, if not a little bit more than that. But it's the air that's going to be so scary. Now, Hyun is going to come in here and finally scout this. He'll see this spire, I think. Hang on. I know there's, like, circling scuffling, but he doesn't see the spire. Oh, no! Oh, no, he doesn't see the spire. This could be pretty bad because he's going to catch this off guard. There are Hydralisks on the way here shortly. The den just finished up, but this is 11 Mutalisks that are going to catch only 3 queens for anti-air in the middle of the map. This is not going to work out for Hyun at all. He's going to have to fall back. He's going to have to find spore crawlers, but he's not going to any down because he doesn't think it's Mutalisks. And this sort of hidden tech is the type of thing that really just catches you off guard here in the mid-game. Now, again, Mutalisks, they got some damage on him. They've finally been revealed to Hyun. He's still going to push with the roaches. Okay, going to pull back. I was going to say, if he's going to push with the roaches, it forces Impact to stay at home to defend, right? Like, the Mutalisks can't just go straight across the field to your worker line. They have to come back and clean up your roaches, is kind of Hyun's thought process. But this will buy him the time to get Hydralisks out. This will buy him the time to get Spore Crawlers down if he needs to. He's going to sacrifice these queens in the process. Already lost 1. A lot of roaches going to Vanguard for this for now. Ling's going to run around too. So with no roaches at home, actually, these Lings will clear out the third base. These drones will absolutely die. And Transfuses will buy a lot of time. Here come the Hydralisks, though. And looks like he might have the DPS to deal with this, but going to focus the Hydralisks instead of the Queens. A smart move out of Impact. As, of course, the Queens aren't really that scary. It's mostly the Hydralisks, and in low numbers, as we see, the Mutalisks do win. However, the Roach is going to push into the Spine Crawler wall. That is down, but he can walk just past these and go to the main. He doesn't have to take this fight, but Hyun will take this fight because he says, you know what? I've got enough Roaches. I've got the DPS, and you cannot stop me, even with these Mutalisks. However, it looks like third base was, in fact, gutted. The Zlings are going to get cleaned up, but only 6 workers killed for it. Not the end of the world. Roaches, meanwhile, again, robust with their health pool, with the +1 armor upgrades, not exactly going down quickly to these Mutalisks. I'm going to focus around the map. How many queens have been picked off here? 4. Oops, sorry, not Control R. I want to do Shift L. There we go. So the queens have been killed off for Impact so far. That's going to really hurt his injects, but the Mutalisks have gone unabated so far. I mean, I think he lost maybe 2 or 3 to those Hydralisks. In fact, exactly 3 to the Hydralisks that came out initially. But Hyun, again with the Roach, is going to pull Impact back. Going to force him to come back to defend one more time. And Impact wants to go full offensive, but with this many Hydralisks at home, plus the defense advantage for Hyun, there's just no way for him to really push. So again, the Roach is splitting off here. Going to go send a couple to the main, send a couple to the natural. Just going to split the forces of Impact and split his own Roaches in the process. No Burrow available, so no special tactics, no cheesy stuff going on. But still lots of workers being picked off here. Up to 8 so far, but most importantly, he's brought Impact back home every single time. And that is the critical part about this. If Impact is left, like, if Hyun is just turtling up at home, right? Impact can start roaming. He can use the mobility of the Mutalisks to dodge around to try and outflank your Hydralisks, your Spore Crawlers if they're out of position, your Queens even. But because he's constantly back home, Hyun's able to play a little bit more safely, and this is why he's been able to accrue this big Hydralisk count, this clump of units, before the Mutalisks won versus the Hydralisks, because the Hydralisk count was very low. They were coming in piecemeal one at a time, and they got demolished. This time, that's not the case. There's a big clump of them, and Hyun can take a Mutalisk fight anywhere, anytime, anyhow. Actually, I like this. Coming in from behind, going to try and cut the reinforcements. Again, this is that sort of one at a time piecemeal effect that unfortunately gets Hydralisks killed. they've got a lot of DPS. They're glass cannons. They've only got 80 health, though, so one volley from these mules is not a problem. But Hyun is going to push in, and there's no spine crawler wall. There are some roaches coming out for impact, but will it even be enough? Roach versus Roach. Hyun's already got that fight in the bag. This comes down so heavily to the Mutalisks. Can they beat out the Hydralisks? Well, looks like we're going to see. I don't think they can, though. There's just perhaps a few too many. He's got them attack rallied, though, so not going to auto-attack. It's actually going to be a lot closer than it should be. If the drones got on top of the Hydras, it would secure that fight, and the Mutalisks could then clean up the Roaches, but only a couple Hydras, just barely going to inch this out. 2 Hydras to the 1 Mutalisk. So close. Good game is called, though, and Hyun will finally bring Quantic back into this. Not unexpected, though. 1 point on the board.